We are here today because we are preparing as a family, aren't we? We are in preparation. In fact, the film we're going to watch afterwards, we are preparing for a wedding or a union like we've never had before with Jesus Christ. And that's what Revelation is all about. It's not doom and gloom if you're in the bride of Christ. And it's not the judgment of God, it's the consequences of what you do when you decide to stay outside of Him. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. That Jesus does everything. If you were to miss heaven, you're going to have to work harder than you can ever imagine. You have to work hard to miss heaven. You have to want to miss heaven. You have to rebel against heaven in order to miss heaven, because God will stop at nothing to bring you to Himself. Jesus, well, of course He will stop at nothing. He gave His one and only Son so that you might have eternal life, who shed His blood on the cross. And so this book is about the Lamb of God who not only forgives, but takes away the sin of the world. Now listen, there's one thing about this church that I like. And I'm just going to say that. I don't mean just this church. One of the things that we proclaim as a church worldwide is that you are not saved to just keep on sinning and be called a sinner the rest of your life. You are saved not only forgiven from sin, but you can have victory over sin. It isn't that you won't sin, but holiness is lacking very much. And I'm not ashamed of the term. In fact, it isn't the Nazarene term, though we're part of the Holiness Association. Henry Blackaby, a Baptist minister, wrote a book called Holiness, and it is an amazing book. Holiness is what God is about, and it is a love perfected in the heart. Now listen, we won't get theological, but this book is about a purity of a bride. And Jesus is saying, not only did I save you, I want to dress you up. I want to fix you up. You're going to be just the prettiest bride that anybody has ever seen. And isn't that exciting? And Revelation tells me about that. And you know how good He is about it? He never stops, of course. He never stops. Never stops. So when He does see a problem, Jesus is not only the best bridegroom, He is the best physician I have ever met in my life. When He diagnoses a problem, He doesn't say, good luck with that. He can heal the problem. He can fix the problem, and He will bring up whatever is wrong so you can be all that you were designed to be from the very beginning. God wants you at your very best. Okay, so what an exciting book. And so I'm going to do, now last week we talked, it's two parts. We're on second part of Ephesus, I think. Well, maybe 3 weeks. But the first part is the best looks. And the church at Ephesus had the best look. I mean, a really good look. But the second part is the best love. But we're not going to get fully to that even yet today, because we're just going to do 2 more verses. So I always summarize. I have to summarize and get the context. In part 1, we'll read the scripture. Write to the angel of the church in Ephesus, thus says the one who holds the 7 stars in his right hand and who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. I know your works, your labor, and your endurance, and you cannot tolerate evil people. You have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and you have found them to be liars. Now, very quick review. I said last week that Christ's presence, that's the first thing, Christ's presence, his authority, He holds the 7 stars. But what I didn't bring out is He not only has authority, but He has ability. He has authority, but He has the ability. You can make me coach of the Minnesota Vikings, I said. You give me the authority to coach them, but that doesn't mean I have any ability. But the word ability is dunamis, which is dynamite, which is power. Jesus has the power to change your life. And you give Him authority, but He's already got authority from heaven, and then He has the power to change whatever you want changed in your life. Okay, now, He, in addition to authority and ability, he has an awareness. He walks among the 7 lampstands. He's right in the middle of your mess, and it is a mess sometimes, and he's right in the middle of your joys, but there he is in the middle. But let me tell you something. Awareness is not the whole thing, and I didn't tell you last week that you need a lot more than to just have somebody aware of your problems. You have to have somebody that's available to them. I can be aware of my wife. I can be aware of her, and she can be, I mentioned this, she can be in the same room, and I can be aware of her presence. That doesn't mean I'm available. Just ask her when it's time to take the garbage out. I'm aware. I'm even aware of the garbage, and she does a marvelous job with it, but I'm not always available to her. Okay, but I tell you what I do. I help her immensely. I end up putting on my calendar so it pops up the days the garbage goes out, and I say, Joy, this is the day for the garbage to go out. Okay. We're a good team. All righty. So availability, awareness, being aware of a person's needs is very different than being available to that person, isn't it? See, I want a church that's more than aware. I want a church of availability. I want us to just be on each other like glue, both for good and bad. You see me slipping and you say, Sam, hey, I think you're in trouble. And Jesus will take care of it, won't he? Praise his name. Okay, so authority, ability, awareness, availability, all of that, all those 4 things. Do you believe that he has all of those to meet your need? I know you believe that God can do anything for Jill, but do you believe he can do anything in your situation? If you believe, he can. Okay, the second part last week, we talked about the commendation. There was Christ's presence, but then there was the commendation. In verse 2, he says, I know your works, your labor, your endurance, you cannot tolerate. The main thing, cannot tolerate evil people. And you really test things out. We said their response to the gospel, it was the trinity of hard works. I know your works. I know your deeds. I also know how much intensity goes into your deeds. I'm not missing anything, guys. I am aware how long you have labored in this. And I also know that you don't quit. You stay under that. You keep going. And you know, I found more thrills in the words I know this week because I really missed that last couple of weeks. I mean, I did bring it up that he knows. But he says, I know. When he says, I know, I mean, it's the greatest recognition of the world. And I did bring that up, that he says, guys, when I come to correct you or discipline you or change something in your life, don't think I don't know what you've done and what you've gone through. Don't think I don't know the pain. Don't think I don't know where you've been. I'm talking to you because I do know. I know. And I want to be there for you. So he says, I know. So they had a great response to the gospel. Unbelievable. I said, if this was a church in the newspaper or I found online, I'd say, I'm going. Because they had all the right stuff, all the right. And then Jesus recognized it. So I said, yeah, that's got to be pretty good. But we're going to move on from that today. And by the way, I will say this. They're hating evil. That's pretty important. Do you know, I have a feeling today that we don't have enough hatred of evil. I think we have kind of a lot of an acceptance almost time of evil. It's kind of like, well, you know, to each his own and all of that. No. They hated evil. We need to stand up against what is destructive to the creation of God, to the lover of Jesus Christ. They hated evil because you know what evil is? It's that which gets between you and your Maker. And it is anything that gets between you and your Maker. Right? I mean, that's really when something takes his place. It's not good. All right. But let's go on. And he continues, by the way. So verse 3. I mean, do you realize I said he complimented these people 10 times? So let's go with that. Verse 3, I know that you have persevered and endured hardships for the sake of my name, and you have not grown weary. Let's just look at the original languages there for a minute. Persevered, bastadzo, persevered. It means that you have lifted up your duty. You have carried this and carried this. You're carrying a load, and it's going to get heavier than that. That's just the first word. And so he says, I know that you have, in other words, you're continuing with the load. Okay, you say, that's good. He also then goes on to say, you have persevered and endured. Remember that word, hupo, underneath, mone, under, to bear under, that you have stayed under that load. In fact, the word, what I like about hupomone, it actually means hopeful continuance. That you're not just, oh man, yeah, serving Jesus. Well, I hope he notices this. I'm glad he said I know, because nobody else knows how much I'm doing. Man, this is a tough walk. Boy, are you attractive as a Christian. Boy, this is the hardest thing I ever went through in my life. Well, I've only got a few more steps, but I'm hupomone. I am bearing up. No, it's not. Hupomone is not that. There's even a cheerful side to it. I'm glad I can do this. You ever had people like that? You know, somebody comes and says, hey, let me get that for you. I can fix that. And I go, oh man, how will I ever pay you? You can't pay me. I'm so glad to be able to do this. That's what Christianity is. Are you ready? I'm so glad. I just rejoice in the fact. And you know, sometimes we are so prone to try to do things and fix things ourselves that when Jesus jumps in and says, hey, guess what? I can help you with that. And we go, oh, that's too easy. No, I really couldn't. I can't take it from you. Did you ever do that? It's like I have a hard time when somebody wants to buy dinner. In fact, it's such a hard time I'm trying to practice getting better at letting them buy. So give me a call in a couple of weeks and let's see how it goes. You know, I think it's a discipline I need to learn. So call me and ask me out, and then pray with me as you do before the meal, and pray that I will let you pay the tab. And we'll see how it goes. Because I want your prayers to be answered too. Okay, so we are there, and we're looking at, not only are you lifting up a burden, but you are hupomone. You are staying under that thing. You're not going to drop it, just like Joy with those groceries. She's not going to put them down until, okay. Then he says something else. One person got it. Ha ha ha. Okay, so then he says, you've endured hardships. That word really hit me. It's kapiao, and that doesn't mean anything. But what it means is, you have done fatiguing. It's fatigued. That's its main meaning. You are fatigued. So not only did you pick up a burden, and you're continuing with it. And I know that. And I know one other thing, guys. You're fatigued. And then he goes on to even compliment him more. So here was the theme. Fatigued but not fainted. You have not grown weary. You have not fainted. You've endured hardships, guys, but you haven't fainted. There couldn't be a better compliment. I keep seeing that person, and I keep seeing that church saying, we're going to stay in this. We're going to do this. And we're not going to faint. And I don't know if you've ever run marathons, but let me tell you something. There are times like it would be easier to drop, and some do, and just drop and just go, I did my best. These people they want to cross over. That's why it's so hard. So he has complimented them 10 times. And then he even says one more. You did this, listen to this in verse 3. You did it for the sake of my name. You're fatigued, but you haven't fainted, and you've did it for the sake of my name. It's going to be really hard to go to the next verses when he says all that great stuff about him, which is true. But because here's what it is. I got a picture of this church the other night. Wow. They got great programs, great kids things, great youth things. They've got t-shirts. Jesus is all over their media. Jesus is all over their Facebook. Jesus is all over their email. Jesus is their number one subject on Twitter. And you've got the hats. And in fact, they stand out there and Jesus is their lawn sign. And it's the sign over the door. And everything is done for His name or through His name. The next word is the concerning word, but it's not harsh. I want you to notice that in every single one of these letters to the churches, Diane was pointing that out some time ago, He's got a promise for him. He's got hope for him. He's got good news for him. See, you have to walk through some of this. And he said, guys, it's really good. I looked at that and I thought, man, wouldn't that be great to have a church like that? Then this word, well, you can call it nevertheless or whatever. It's but. You're doing good. Together place. I am so happy with you. But when he says but, you know that that's a contrast word. And so he's coming at it and he says, but I have this against you. It's like I have this one thing. And all he's saying this, it's not like just against. It's there's one thing that I'm opposed to what you're doing. He said, you have, what? You have left, you have abandoned the love you had at first. Now, I want to do something, and I want to share some of Sam's famous thinking on love. My trilogy of love. Actually, it's not famous, but it is my thinking. I believe there are three aspects of love. Now, I first want to preface this by saying that Maslow, how many have heard of Maslow? If you haven't, that's okay. Yep. Maslow, the psychologist, hierarchy of needs, self-actualization, doing stuff, being stuff, deficiency, love, and being love. And he doesn't get it real biblical because good luck with self-actualization also. But what he does get right is there are a lot of things that we do out of need, and he calls it deficiency. I really like you. I need you. I told you guys one time in a sermon, the first time I almost fell apart was when I said to my wife, you know, you used to need me and I feel like you don't anymore. And she said, you're right. And I got blown away. But the message was powerful because it was like, I can't function without you before. And I was the knight on the white horse. Well, I was kind of the short guy on the dark horse. But nevertheless, but she came to a place where she said, I was totally dependent on you. And she thought it over for a long time and she said, Sam, I don't know, I don't want to hurt you, but I don't need you anymore. Jesus meets my needs. Amen. But I want you, and I desire you, and I love you. Don't you think that's good? It took me 3 days to heal, but nevertheless, it was good. I really wanted to be needed, and there is that drive within us. But often, that's the deficiency part, that you fill a hole in my life, and that's great for me. So Maslow goes on with that. I'm going to give you his ending before I go into my three things. He says, he's never really seen this. At one point he writes, I've never really seen this before. But he says most love is deficiency love, and he doesn't make fun of that, and I'm not either. He says that's not bad, but we depend on others. But he said there is a kind of love, I don't know that I've truly ever seen it. He says there is this being, and it's higher up there. He puts religion and everything in the self-actualization. He puts faith in the being and not the doing. I find that interesting. And he turns around and says, being love has no deficiency. It's not the kind of love that expects a result. He said, he says, those people are so rare. It's just their nature. They love because that's what their being is. Isn't that great? Isn't that Christianity? If the love of God fills us. So my three things are this, and they're not perfect and they're not well developed. Let me say this. I want to talk about requirement love. Requirement love, by the way, that is where everything is about me, and a dictionary would call that there's an infatuation. Now, there's some good elements to all kinds of love, but there is infatuation, which is usually defined as short-term, extremely obsessive, very passionate, but it doesn't last. So you kind of know when you say infatuation, right? I'm going to tell you something that is a little different about this. I'm going to tell you what a lot of preaching and a lot of churches are putting out today. It's infatuation. You get all excited about what Jesus can do for you. I'll tell you what. In fact, I'm going to tell you that health and wealth gospel is infatuation. Right. It's all about me. It's all about me. He exists for me. I'm really hooked on him because of me. Oh, I'm excited. Well, you can find this in the parable of the sowers too. You spring up and you go, wow, is this good? Because he's going to do everything you want for you. Now, infatuation. The next one I call, not requirement love or infatuation, I call romantic love. It's okay. I mean, it's wonderful. It's still a deficiency love, but again, there's nothing wrong with somebody doing things for you. Romantic love is real different than requirement, because there starts this reciprocity. It's kind of a two-way, and actually it's almost starting to reverse now, because it's, you know where romance comes from? I was really looking up some history on the word romance. It was very disappointing. It was very disappointing. I mean, I found some roots, but I thought, what? And it had dumb definitions like, well, like in romance novels. I said, you don't define the word, you're just using the word. Come on. Romance novels, romance languages. And I said, yeah, I know, but what is romance? And I'm going to tell you what it is. Get all excited, honey. It's Roman C. It's B of Roman. So it's Roman. But here's what made it special. That there's a little area over there, and it is French, and it's where Germany, French, Rome come together, and there was a Celtic people there. Right. And with their language development, they began to call the language they spoke Roman, and I forget. But anyway, it comes out to Roman. At any rate, what their languages and stories, it was like a tale, and this is where your romance novels come from. It was that they began narratives, and it was about chivalry. And so it does have some roots in chivalry, language, culture, but there were these great stories, again, about the knight on the white horse, short guy on the dark horse, either way. Now, but it was chivalry, and it was of my doing something for you, If I'm going to have romance joy, it means I get her flowers or chocolate or a new dryer. No, sorry, okay. At any rate, so there are things that I am then doing that involve my doing things for someone else. That's really good too. It will change you. It will change your activity. It will change your music. I mean, I see that where somebody is so concerned, and maybe here's kind of a good example, and I'll move along. I have several good examples of this. There are things that you don't necessarily love that you'll do because you're romancing a person. You ever been there? I mean, there's a lot of guys that their number one drive on a Saturday is to go shopping. They love going out and going shopping, right? Now, maybe there are some guys that do, but the fact is this. So when you're in the romance stage of things, your spouse, your wife, your girlfriend says, let's go to the mall today. Wouldn't that be fun? And you go, I'm in a romance. Or maybe, and I don't want to be biased on what women do. There are so many women that can outfish me. Well, every woman can outfish me. But so there are women that, you know, like my daughter that says her husband's an avid fisherman and she doesn't care to go. You want to go fishing? Whoo, yeah, can't wait. So, but in romance, you do some things, and so you go to the mall, and you walk the mall, and you're going, and she says, isn't this fun? And you're going, yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I've never had so much fun in my life. How many more hours are we going to be able to take this kind of fun? Okay. But romance, you do that. That's the chivalry thing to do. You'll change a lot. You know, one of my most embarrassing stories, oh my goodness. And I actually did this. I was brokenhearted because once a lady broke up with me. Everybody I ever dated broke up with me except Joy, but this one lady, I don't know why, they all had problems, I can tell you that. Everyone. I was dating this girl. She was the worst girl I ever dated. I shouldn't say that. Remind me to cut. We'll cut this story out. Because she was a professing Christian. And she just fell head over heels for me. I mean, I can understand that. It was really something. And then she started doing some interesting things. She said, I have to figure out how to introduce you to my folks. And I said, oh, okay, well, I think you just say, hi, this is Sam, and I like him. Well, it wasn't that easy, because she had always dated tall, dark, and handsome guys, and I didn't. Oh, it was awful. My kids remember. So she had us going to a mall. And she said, I really want you to get some nice shoes. And I said, sure, that's okay. And she said, I'll help you pick them out. And those shoes were, have you ever seen like a Mexican hat dance? I don't know. But the shoes, really what she wanted to do, she told me later, was she wanted me to look taller. She says, you need some height on you. So I had high heels. And I looked nice in them too. And I mean, they were high heels. I had to learn to walk again. Now I know what ladies went through when you wore that stuff. So I got these shoes and I wore them for her. And then she did something even worse. She said, I want to send a picture back to my parents of us. Well, and she says, I want to send them one of you. We didn't have selfies and we didn't have a tripod. So she says, I'm going to take a couple pictures of you. I said, oh, that's good, great. She says, and then she had me stand on this hill with my high heels. Then she found a classmate of hers. Yeah, it was brutal. She found a classmate of hers, and she said, would you take a picture of Sam and I? And she says, sure. And so she just went down a little lower on the hill and went like this. And then she could send a picture home. Isn't that something? And I stayed with her for a while. But at any rate, so it was all about image and her and me. Anyway, so there are those things, and so there's the, like, you change your music, and just because I care about you as a Christian, I'm ready to do bluegrass this morning, you know, that kind of a thing. Not really, but I would be willing to. Okay, I want to get to this last love, And we're getting near the end. And when I say we're getting near the end, I mean there's at least 10 minutes left. Okay. There's what I call relational love. So there's requirement love. Everything is about what you ought to do for me, and that's why I like you, because you make me feel good. And romance, well, there's some reciprocity, and I want to make you feel good, but it's reciprocal. You do some things for me. And then there's this thing I call and by the way, romance love is good. Don't think that that's bad. In fact, it's a part of what should be in a relational love. But the highest is this relational love. Intimacy. The pull of the person, not a program, not a performance. It's the pull of the person. Period. I mean, that's pretty rare in human relationships. It doesn't flow from reciprocity. It is so unique that Maslow says, I don't think I've ever seen it. And I'm saying, that's Christianity. I'm really concerned that we don't have that as much as we could in real Christianity. It's really, when it gets off of me. Well, so at any rate, I got to tell you where I saw this. I can go to tears thinking about this, so I'm going to try to hold it together. I had a friend up north. I had a church there. And this man attended the church, and we became friends. And he asked me one day, and it was early on in the relationship, and he said, would you like to go with me to see my wife? And I said, to see your wife? And he said, well, my wife is in a nursing home. And she was about 30 miles away. And he said, yeah, I'd like you to meet her. I think she would love to meet you. And I said, well, Roger, I'd love to meet her. That's wonderful. Thanks for asking. And he brought me up there. And so I'm expecting, he says, yeah, I like to go up there and visit with her. And so I'll just give you the rest of the story now. She had been in a nursing home for 21 years. They had been married only 28. He cared for her 18 and a half years at home. And now it was 2.5 years she was in a nursing home. And he made that trip 4 to 5 times a week, about 60 miles. So I thought, this would be interesting. I have no idea. He said, yeah, she's such a beautiful lady, Sam, you're going to love her. And we have such great times. And I said, that is so good, Roger. I got in the door of the nursing home and we walked, and I'm expecting someone who, yes, has MS. I think it was MS. But I'm expecting to meet someone that's conversing and can really visit. And we got there, and I'm not going to say, to me, no offense at all to this person, I thought, she's not functional. It felt like almost a vegetative state to me, because I was expecting so much more. And she couldn't feed herself, and I couldn't tell if she was smiling, and he was there like, honey, I want you to meet Sam, and how you doing, and how's your day, and he interacted with her like she was just, like it was a first date. You know what I mean? Isn't she beautiful, Sam? Sam thinks you're really beautiful, honey. You're looking good. Are you having a good day? You look like you're having a good day. Man, I miss you. I wish you could come home. I'd do anything if you could come home. I thought, what in the world? And I'm going to tell you the difference. He had a relationship with her, and I didn't. He had a special relationship that wasn't about, but I couldn't even tell him that he wasn't getting anything from it, because he was getting everything from it. He loved it. He loved her, and it wasn't about what she was able to do for him. This was the love of his life. And he was going to be there. And he had left his job and everything and tried to make do on a very poor farm to take care of his wife and to drive back and forth. And she couldn't do anything. I know this seems strange because it seems like a really poor analogy to the church and Jesus, because Jesus is not helpless. But I have to make the analogy that I have to say, what would it take when I would make a commitment and when there's a love in my heart that isn't about how Jesus serves me, but I see the beauty in him everywhere, and my whole life is about, there he is. I see him. And everybody else would look and say, how is Sam so excited about that? His life isn't that fabulous, but it is. Because it's not about needs getting met. He already met those. It's not about programs. It's about the person of Jesus. Right. And wouldn't it be something if they would not hear so much about, we have the best programs, we have so many great classes, we have Bible study. Wouldn't it be something if they go, man alive, I don't get it for sure. It doesn't look the same to me, but they're really excited about it. I mean, they really love this Jesus of theirs. And it doesn't seem to be based on how simple or comfortable or how great their life is. They just can't help it. They just love him. They don't even know. They don't even know that they're suffering and having hardships. These people don't even know that they're under pressure. What? Why, yes, I talked to one of them the other day, and I heard Jesus was saying, oh, thank you for feeding me and clothing me and visiting me in prison. And they went, when did we do that? Really, did we do that? Wow. We didn't even know we were doing it because it was so automatic to just love on Jesus wherever he showed up. So this, folks, and I want to finish this verse. This is what they had sent off. You have abandoned, apo eme. You have told to go your first love. What? You've got everything going. In fact, you've got new campuses. You've got such a great church. But you sent me away. When did we do that? How did we do that? Sent away your best and your first love, the romance and the relational love, what excited you in the beginning and what kept you. You sent it all away. You're busy, but you have no romance and no relationship with me. You have my t-shirt, you got the hat. You can wear it on your back, Jesus saves. You can put it on your sign. But you know what? Do you know what a great reprimand this is? Do you understand how good this is? What he's saying to them? This is not but, you terrible people. He says, but the most important thing to me is our relationship. And that's true of each one of us. I want our relationship to be so tight that you don't even notice, well, that we're suffering. Well, that it's costing you. You don't notice that. See, I said to Roger, that's such a commitment, 4 times a week, going back and forth, seeing her in that condition. And he's going. He couldn't understand my language. Do you follow me? He didn't get it. I was the one that was out there, not him. It was like, Roger, why do you do this so often? And it's like he's going, why wouldn't everybody that loves? You sent that away. I'll tell you how Thayer addresses this word, a Greek scholar. He said, this is like a divorce, a husband divorcing his wife in the Bible. The divorce decree is not really it. That just states what happened. You lost it. You went away. Let me just kind of cut this short now. Okay. Religious duty is not a substitute for your best love. The right doctrine, nailing it, is not a substitute for Jesus. Religious discipline is not a substitute. Their labors were tireless, but their love was gone. Let me close. Let me close with this last. Let's go back to the mall. Let's go to the mall. Do you know, in the beginning, it was like, no, the mall is not necessarily my cup of tea. But I'll go there with you because you know why? Even if Joy says going grocery shopping, most of the time she'll say, well, you can stay home and I'll go. But I want to go. I want to go with her. I don't like grocery shopping. It is really low on my list. Clothes shopping is even better than that. But grocery shopping. But yeah, I'll go. Okay, could we get out of the freezer section, please? Just take that piece of meat and let's run. But going to the mall, in the beginning, it was like, yeah, I love her. I'll go to the mall. Not my favorite thing, but I'll go to the mall. Because I just wanted to be with her, wherever it was. Wherever she is, that's where I want to be. If she's in the pit, I want to get down there with her. Though she makes her bed in hell, I want to be there. Though she's on the highest mountain, I want to be there. Wherever she is, that's where I want to be. Amen. So let me tell you how you lost it. This is the thing now. I used to go to the mall. Not because I loved malls, because I loved her. Right? You know what happens? Picture this one. It's going to be hard for you to picture, I think, because my brain is twisted. Can you imagine one day I start going, hey, hon, I don't know what you're doing today, but I'm going to the mall. And she goes, well, I don't have anything to get at the mall. And I said, well, you don't need to come. Because suddenly, it's not about being with her at the mall. Suddenly, malls become more important. Suddenly, I just like going to the mall. And the idea that we walked hand in hand down the halls of the mall, that's not important. I'm in the malls. In fact, you know what? We should buy one of these, honey. I love malls. And let's get another mall, in fact, huh? Let's get another mall. Or campus. Or church. Wouldn't it be something if you just started loving your church so much but you didn't even need Jesus to go there? That your church was so good that you didn't have to love Jesus to go to church. You just went because, I kind of like church. And I really love pizza. You didn't come for pizza today. Not one of you came for pizza. You came because you wanted to hear the word and to be with Christ. We're doing the pizza because families do that once in a while, right? And you came to see something about Jesus. I just want to say this. I don't want any activity or duty or program or performance or place or personal comfort or success to replace Jesus. And I'm going to tell you, if you think, well, that's simple, Sam. Don't you love Jesus? I love Jesus. Hey, I'm not talking words. I'm talking intimacy. I am talking, Jesus, more than anything today, oh, I've got to have you. Oh, man, I can feel I'm in your presence. My heart's pounding. Is that infatuation? Oh no. Because this is not about what can you do for me now. This is, I don't want to be any place but in the presence of Jesus and wherever it takes us. Why do you think people could rejoice as they were being martyred? Why do you think Stephen could say, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing, while they're stoning him to death because he was in the presence of Jesus? He said, I see the Son of Man. I'm just going to tell you, whatever situation you go into, mall or Walmart or fishing, whatever you go into, see Jesus in it. Not the program, not the activity, not the place, not the preacher, not the singers. See Jesus in it. Come for Jesus. Go for Jesus.